Welcome back, everybody, to another exhilarating smoked out courtroom event of Lockdown 23 in 1. That's right, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're traveling down to Florida to witness one of 3 teenagers get sentenced for killing 3 other teenagers. I know it sounds unbelievable, I'll break it down here in 1 second. But first, let's go ahead and tap that like, subscribe, notification bell one time if you're new and enjoy all things lockup and crime related. And of course, don't forget to check out my beautifully assorted playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Between May 30th and April 1st, 2023, the bodies of 3 teenagers identified as Layla Silvernail, Michael Hodo Jr., and Camille Quarles were recovered in different locations in Marion County. According to officials, Silvernail had been shot in the head and was found near a dumpster. Hodo Jr. was shot in the back of the head and found alongside the road. Quarles had 2 gunshot wounds and was found dead in a trunk that was partially submerged in a lake. Marion County Sheriff Billy Woods previously told reporters that it appeared that everyone was a part of an unofficial neighborhood wannabe gang, and at some point the 3 boys turned on the 3 teenagers. A possible motive appeared to be robbery. Very sad story. My condolences go out to the family members affected by this. Now, there's other twists and turns and theories about this case. I'll leave that to y'all to do your own research. Right now, we're jumping into the courtroom. It's time for this teenager to pay for his deadly crimes.
As I said yesterday, my job is to find a fair sentence which takes into account the victims of the offense, their families, and the defendant, and all the actions that he committed. I would remind everybody that a certain portion of my sentence is ruled by statute. That statute ultimately comes from the United States Supreme Court, which has laid out the only legal way for juveniles to be sentenced. They have excluded juveniles from the death penalty. They have excluded juveniles from getting a sentence of life imprisonment with no possibility of release. So that comes to us from the United States Supreme Court, and I must follow that law. If I don't follow that law, the sentence will be immediately overturned. So I have no choice. That comes to us from the United States Supreme Court. However, certain aspects of the sentence are within my discretion, and those are the parts I'm acting on now.
So this is a prime example of, a lot of people get mad at the judge because the sentencing ain't what they want it to be. Sometimes it's completely out of the judge's hands, like this case. No matter how gruesome or heinous of a crime this juvenile committed, he still at most can only get life with the possibility of parole, which is a rule I think needs to be, what's the right word for it? Amended? Tapped into again, because some of these juvies need to get smoked to death. Maniacs. But if I were to guess, the judge can slap on consecutive sentences, which can make it a guarantee that he doesn't get out for decades. And that's a slight chance only if the parole board decides to let him out.
For the same reasons I couldn't consider the victim impact of Layla and Michael yesterday, I certainly will consider it today, because their cases are in front of the court today. They weren't in front of the court yesterday. In Florida Statute 921.1401, I've considered all aspects of that statute and all the criteria which are laid out in that statute. I've considered in Wade his age at the time of the offense, which was either 18 or 19.
We're getting some lag here.
Is the most important one. I think he was 16. Is that correct?
Yes, he was.
That's my understanding of it. I weighed his maturity, I weighed his background, his intellectual capacity.
Look, this is the problem I'm having with it, alright? When I was 16 at the darkest, most diabolical times of my life, I still knew not to kill nobody, right? So for someone at this age, I don't care, 16 or not, he knew damn well what he was doing and didn't give a damn about the consequences and repercussions.
The background information from the pre-sentence investigation that was compiled for the robbery case, which would be the same background information for this case. I weighed all the evidence that's been presented by the defense, including Dr. Kropp's evidence. I've weighed all the arguments that have been contained by both. But I've also weighed the circumstances of these offenses. And the defendant's participation in these offenses, which is also a part of the 921 statute. without going into great length and having to recap all that has been said here, the overwhelming thing is that he orchestrated the death of 3 juveniles without any pretense or any justification in any sense whatsoever. He did that at the time after cutting off his electronic monitor for a juvenile offense, for offensive carjacking. He did this offense within a couple of months of being placed on the electronic monitor. I just find that the seriousness and the heinousness of these offenses outweigh any mitigation that's been placed in front of the court. For the homicide offenses, there's really only one sentence that is appropriate in the case. And that sentence that he shall receive is a life sentence for each of his homicide offenses. I want to go down each of them individually so that that can be made clear. In case number 23 CF 1860, guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm involving the death of Michael Hodo. He's ordered to serve life imprisonment. In case that was count 1. In count 2, he's adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm involving the death of Layla Danielle Silvanel. In that case, he will serve life imprisonment. In count 3, he'll be adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm involving Camille Quarles. In count 4, robbery. Count 4 is robbery. Count 5, robbery with a firearm. He will be ordered to serve life imprisonment. Count 6, let me go back. Count 4 and 5 is adjudicated guilty of robbery with a firearm.
Judge, he's only charged with 1 robbery with a firearm in this case. That other robbery is Mr. Robinson. Yes.
I'm trying to read this and think at the same time. He's adjudicated guilty in count 4 of robbery with a firearm as a B defendant or serve life imprisonment. Count 5, he is not in that offense.
Correct.
But that wasn't part of the plea offer either. Count 5.
I'm trying to read a lot of things at the same time, but I appreciate it. He's not in count 5. Count 6, adjudicated guilty of tampering with physical evidence, ordered to serve 96.225 months in the Department of Corrections. I do also find that he killed or attempted to kill the victim, Michael Hodo, in these cases, that he directly killed Mr. Hodo by shooting him with a firearm. So he will be ordered that he can have, that his date for a review will be after 25 years from the date of the offense, or the date of the arrest, I should say. I think it would go by date of arrest. Is that correct? Or by date of conviction? Anyone's guess at this point.
I don't know the answer to that, Judge.
Okay.
It's date of conviction,
whichever
I
is
believe.
the latter of the two. If it's date of arrest, it'll be by date of arrest. If it's date of conviction, date of conviction. But he will be entitled to review after 25 years to comply with the statute on these offenses. And that will also be the same for the life imprisonment on the robbery. That will be for all 4 offenses in the robbery. He'll be entitled to review after 25 years.
Entitled to review, what exactly does that mean? It means after doing 25 years minimum, he'll be able to go in front of the parole board. And they're going to look back at his 25 years of doing time, if he's gotten in any trouble, been staying out the way, all that good stuff. And chances are, even if he has, on his first go round to the parole board after killing 3 juveniles 25 years later or not, I can almost guarantee 100% he will be denied. At least the first time, right? So, not to mention, just judging by this guy's characteristics, and from what I read on the case, man, this guy's probably gonna go 100 million miles an hour in them cell blocks. Ripping and running, getting into everything. And what happens when you get into the mix like that in prison or jail? Typically, people run their time up, get more time added in prison. Or the prisons that he's going to, which is gonna be high level, if he gets in the mix like that, chances are he could die. So, it's gonna be a toss up with this young buck, but typically, from what I experienced, young young cats, man, that grew up in the hood and they get an early life sentence of like 19, and they act wild in the cell blocks, man. That's their life now. So who knows what's in store for this young guy. He's got a lot of decisions to make when he gets behind those walls.
I'm just thinking, I know there may be a situation he would be entitled to review earlier for what offenses?
The robbery, I believe, is 20.
Correct.
20.
That's correct.
I can impose, I'll say for 20 on the robbery, but I would point out, I don't know if they would do a review since he would not be entitled to release for another 5 years on the murder.
Correct.
But since they've conducted none of these reviews on new cases yet, but, so I stand on the robbery would be 20 years.
And that's
Oh man, I can see how that could be a little confusing. One of his charges, the robbery, he can go up for parole in 20 years. But why go in front of the parole board if he's going to be stuck in there for another 5 years for the murder? I think the one with the most time probably cancels out any other parole board meetings.
But, so I stand on the robbery would be 20 years.
and that's part of the plea offer too.
Okay, so fair enough, 20 years. I don't believe the offer addressed whether the sentences would be concurrent or consecutive with his 23 sentences. Is that correct?
It did not. It did not address that, Judge.
Uh-oh.
We would be requesting the prior sentence that he received to be concurred with this.
Okay, but the plea offer did not address it.
It
The
did
plea
not.
offer did not.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, the 23 cases, which is 23 CF 1344.
Oh man, looks like the defense attorney messed up a little bit. Which ain't a bad thing, because I believe this guy needs to get smoked from here to Kingdom Come, but he didn't stipulate in a plea deal if it was going to be ran consecutive or concurrent to 23 other charges. That's quite a bit, so if the judge runs it consecutive, that means, man, he ain't getting out of prison until there's 30 doors on a microwave. He's got to do all that time back to back before he can even think about going in front of the parole board.
CF 1345, of which he's previously sentenced. Those are for separate offenses with separate victims completed at a completely separate time, unrelated to these offenses. So his sentences in 23 CF 1864 will be served consecutively to the sentences in 23 CF 1344 and 23 CF 1345. However, I believe he still is entitled to review the
Smoke.
25-year mark. But the
Bill.
sentences, if he is not let out upon review, are served consecutively. So I think he had a 20-year sentence there. So essentially his sentence would start upon the expiration of his earlier sentence. On each count, I'm going to go back to the plea agreement here.
So I believe at a very bare minimal, he has to do 43 years before he can go up in front of the parole board. Because he has to do 20 consecutive to the other, 23? 25? Minimal for murder? So that make it 45 years. Unless I'm hearing it wrong. And then he can go in front of the parole board. If I heard the accumulation of numbers wrong, please help me in the comment section below. I apologize.
On count, there is, for the case, $100 to state attorney's office cost of prosecution, $100 cost of defense. That's for count one. Is there anything else I've missed?
Just for clarification purposes, Your Honor, the plea agreement indicated that the defendant agreed that he killed, intended to kill, or attempted to kill all three homicide victims. That was the negotiated plea. Is the court making that finding that
Yes, sir.
25-year review hearing applies to each of the homicide counts?
Yes, sir, that's what
Thank you, Your Honor.
that's the intention of the court. So, Mr. Vaughn, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so yes, the 25 years is on the three homicide offenses. All his sentences in the 23 CF 1864 are concurrent. So the
Yes.
sentences in 1864 are concurrent, but they are consecutive to the sentences in 23 CF 1344 and 23 CF 1345.
A bit of a mandatory on the
There's a 10-year minimum mandatory for the firearm in the armed robbery offense.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 3 life sentences. He has to do a minimal, if I heard it correctly, of 45 years before he can even go in front of the parole board. Either way, homeboy's gonna be locked away for decades, and if I were to guess, like I already said, he's probably gonna be getting in the mix in prison. A lot of people, when they get that much time to do, prison's their life from then on, and they're gonna embrace it to the max. Some people embrace it going down the dark path, and some people embrace it just by relaxing and coping with the fact that they're never going home. Make their time as best as they can while they can. There's always a couple routes that you could take in prison. Even if you got life, your life in prison can be way harder based upon your decisions. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think he's going to make all the wrong decisions and he ain't never going to leave prison. And if I were to bet it all, chances are someone will probably end up getting him in prison. Because you got to keep in mind, no inmates respect anybody killing 2 girls, let alone teenagers. It doesn't matter if you're a teenager or not. Hopefully that helps the victim's family members in some kind of way. I strongly believe. Homeboy's gonna have a very dark ride in prison, and I don't think he's ever getting out. But I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. We got a little flash flood warning over here near Chattanooga. Once again, man, I'm telling you, like Hamilton Place, it's like underwater right now. A lot of the area, you know, the mall, I think it's like 6 feet of water or something like that, and the rain is still rolling. Tell you what, flash floods and stuff like that out here in the sticks and the mountains can be treacherous, man, because you got rock slides, you know, you got them dams everywhere. Some of them dams, if they break, the whole damn county's gonna be under a lake. Kind of like what happened over there in North Carolina, man. Damn, I just looked at a video of, man, I can't remember the name of the lake, but the one where they did Dirty Dancing in. Yeah, me and Brittany used to go to Lake Lure, man. I can't believe I almost forgot it, but we used to go to that lake all the time. And the lake now is just completely gone. The whole face of the terrain out there is completely changed after that hurricane. You know, so be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you're close to the Chattanooga area. If you're in a high flood zone, man, be prepared to get the hell out. And of course, my prayers go out to anybody and everybody dealing with these kind of natural disasters across the country. But at least you're not in prison dealing with it, right? I think I just read that there was some kind of fire out in, I can't remember what state, but they had to evacuate a prison. Colorado, Nebraska, something like that. Don't quote me on it, man. Just do your research. It'll pop right up. Maybe it was Minnesota. I don't know. Also, a prison roof got blown off during the storm. They had to evacuate them inmates to another prison as well. So natural disasters, man, they're all around the corner any which way. Better be careful out there. Heads on a swivel. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, it could be much worse in jail or prison. So, more importantly than anything, stay free. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to ask. Do you think this 16-year-old should be spared in any way, shape, or form just because of his age? Once again, my 2 cents is a no. But I'd love to hear y'all, so let me know in the comment section below. And stay free.